One waterway controls nearly 20% of the world's oil supply, and now Iran is trying to charge money for using it. This is not a future scenario. This is already happening in real time. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most critical shipping routes on Earth. Every day, dozens of ships carry oil and gas through this narrow passage. Countries like Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Kuwait, and Qatar depend on it. Without it, their energy exports cannot function normally. Since the conflict involving the United States, Israel, and Iran began, this waterway has become a strategic pressure point. Iran is no longer just watching the strait, it is actively using it as leverage. And now there are signs that this temporary control could turn into a long-term system. A system that could change how global energy trade works and possibly reshape economic power in the region. The Strait of Hormuz sits between Iran and Oman. At its narrowest point, it is only about 50 kilometers wide. That makes it one of the most sensitive choke points in the world. Any disruption here is felt globally. Before the conflict, ships used a direct and efficient route. It passed close to Iran's coastline and nearby islands. Despite having geographic control, Iran rarely interfered. The system remained stable for years. Gulf countries relied heavily on this stability. There was no serious backup plan. Alternative routes were limited or expensive, and no one expected the situation to change this quickly. But now, that assumption is being tested. Iran has started to restrict how ships move through the strait. Access is no longer automatic. It is becoming conditional. In the early phase, many non-Iranian ships were blocked. Later, Iran allowed access to selected countries, including China, Russia, India, Iraq, and Pakistan. But even they must follow new rules. Ships are no longer using the main route. Instead, they are directed through a narrow northern passage, a path that runs between Iranian-controlled islands and is closely monitored. Reports suggest that Iran is charging around $2 million per ship. This effectively turns the strait into a toll system. At the same time, small numbers of naval mines have been reported, not as full blockades, but as signals. Regional countries have responded strongly. The Gulf Cooperation Council has called this illegal. U.S. officials have also criticized the move, but practical options remain limited. International law requires free passage through major straits. However, enforcement depends on political realities. And in this case, the situation is complex. There is no quick legal solution. There are also indications that Iran may formalize this system. Lawmakers are reportedly working on new legislation. Some officials have even spoken about a new structure for the strait. This suggests long-term planning. Now, step back and look at the numbers. Around 40 ships pass through this route every day. Many of them carry oil and gas. That creates a massive economic opportunity. If each ship pays around $2 million, daily revenue could reach $80 million. That's nearly $2.5 billion per month. Even partial implementation would generate huge income. For comparison, the Suez Canal earns less each month. So this system could become a major financial source for Iran, especially given its limited access to global markets. This changes the economic equation. But this is not only about money, it is about control and influence. By managing the route, Iran gains visibility over global shipping and control over who can pass and who cannot. This shifts the balance of power in the region from passive geography to active decision-making. Iran moves from observer to gatekeeper, and that has long-term implications. The use of mines adds another layer. Even a small number can create uncertainty. Clearing mines is slow and expensive, so the threat itself becomes a tool. There is also a financial dimension beyond shipping. Some reports suggest Iran may push for oil payments in Chinese yuan instead of the US dollar. If oil trade shifts away from the dollar, it could reduce US financial influence. At the same time, it strengthens China's position and helps Iran avoid sanctions. So, who benefits from all of this? Iran gains both revenue and strategic control. China benefits indirectly through currency expansion, and some countries maintain access to energy supplies. And who loses? Gulf states face the biggest risk. Their economies depend on uninterrupted exports, and alternatives are limited. The global economy also feels the pressure. Higher costs and uncertainty affect energy prices, impacting industries worldwide, from transport to manufacturing. Looking ahead, there are three possible paths. The first, this toll system becomes permanent. If formalized, it could redefine global shipping rules and force long-term adjustments. The second path is negotiation. Iran may use this system as leverage, trading access for sanctions relief or broader political concessions. The third path is escalation. If external forces try to challenge this system directly, the situation could turn into open conflict, and that carries serious risks. There is also another concern. Gulf countries depend heavily on desalination for water. These systems are fragile and continuous. Any disruption could have immediate consequences. This adds another layer of risk, because water shortages affect daily life directly, not just economies, but entire populations, and that raises the stakes even higher. In the end, the Strait of Hormuz has always been important, but what is happening now is different. Control is becoming active, not passive, and that changes everything. A toll system in this location could redefine global trade, shift financial power, and redefine regional influence, all from a single narrow waterway. What happens next depends on how this conflict evolves and what each side is willing to accept or resist. But one thing is clear. The rules of this strait are being rewritten, and the world is watching closely.